Welcome to Automate Your Agency. Every week, we bring you expert insights, practical tips, and success stories that will help you streamline your business operations and boost your growth. Let's get started on your journey to more efficient and scalable operations.
So, Elaine, in this episode, I want to talk about something that not only we've battled with and gone back and forth on uh, between all of our businesses, but also what we hear a lot from our clients. And that's, do I need a project manager
Oh god,
or can I operate without one?
that's a good one. I've been hearing that on calls so often lately. Do I need a project manager to do this? Do I just do it with my internal team? People say I'm too small for one, and I think it comes down to how your organization is structured, because we ran a 125 person company with no project managers.
Yeah. When we were talking about the topics that we want to cover, I know you brought this one up, and I don't think I ever thought about it that we did all of that without a single project manager. It never really occurred to me because it was so natural of what we were doing. So maybe we can share a little bit about how we did that and why we chose to go that route with that business.
Yeah. And I mean, we started, it was, a very small team. It was you in the beginning, and then like me, you, and an intern. And so, we really built everything from scratch. But as we sold things, what I was really reflecting on, and why we were able to do this, is we had very repeatable systems. Even though we
Mhm.
were an agency and we did uh, hundreds, if not thousands, of social media posts per week for our 600 automotive clients, it was still repeatable. And we had a department, we had an ad department, we had a reputation department, we had a social media content writing department. And so we had these specialized departments, and the manager actually made sure that everything was moving along. And I don't mean the account manager, I mean the manager for that department.
Right. Right. So effectively, instead of having a manager who then had project managers who had to transfer knowledge, check in, and had kind of this middleman situation, we just trained the managers how to use the tools that were provided to manage projects, but without saying, "Hey, you're also going to be a project manager."
Yeah. And then the other piece of this is that the account manager had access to see where each piece was, because we were not only ripping out a ton of social media posts, but our biggest thing was selling ads. I mean, they were car dealerships. And so that's their number one thing, is advertising. And so we sold social media ads, but our account manager could jump in. We used Asana to manage the team.
Mhm.
And they were able to see where things were at and get, in a few clicks, see the status of things. And if something was roadblocked, if they needed to get something from the client. And so work constantly moved. And we didn't have a project manager ever in there making sure things were moving along. It was work was getting done, people knew where things were at, and the manager could jump in, or the account manager, if they needed to get something from the client.
Yeah, so do you think it would have been detrimental or helpful if we would have added a project manager layer?
I think we would have pissed off a lot of managers. They would have felt like they were being, meddled with, but it was because of the systems we had in place. We had stuff that they could manage their team. They didn't need to have an oversight in that company. And I think this is
Mhm.
the difference, because we do have a project manager now in this business. And
Definitely.
so when I was thinking about the differences, and what your business is like, is it time for a project manager versus is it not? Is this this company that we have now, we're working on custom workflows for companies. So a lot of projects are custom. It's not necessarily repeatable. And so we have a project manager at the core, being able to make sure that things are moving along. Now, our account managers still have access to visualizing where things are at, but we do have that piece that we didn't have before. And I think it's the way that we are servicing our clients is different. And I think that's where people need to look at, what are you providing your clients? Is it repeatable? or is it custom every single time? And maybe that's the differentiator.
Yeah, now we have a project management tool in both businesses. We put a project management tool in place. In the last business, it was an Asana, and this one it's ClickUp. I don't think we could have scaled or operated seamlessly in our last business without a tool like Asana or ClickUp or Monday because we needed that collaboration. We needed that ability to see, like you're saying, the account managers could see stuff, the department managers could control what was going on and had the
Mhm.
resources and the tools in place to do that without needing an extra layer for project manager. Now, in this case, a project manager and account manager works together as a beautiful team to keep things rolling so that the account manager can focus on the custom side
Mhm.
and the project manager can focus on keeping things rolling internally.
And having the project management system in there is the core piece. If not, your project manager is dancing through chat messages and trying to move things along. Like, it doesn't matter either way that you decide to go in your company, is do they have a system to move work along? Whether you do it with your managers or you do it with a project manager, you have to have that structure in place. And I mean, Micah, we couldn't do it. I mean, going back to what you were just saying, like, I don't think we could have done it and scaled our last business. Like, we couldn't have, because we were drowning in work. And just remember there was such a moment with you and I growing that business and us working so much, and our team just also just so tired and working so much. Like, we couldn't keep things organized anymore. And
Right.
so we had to move to a place like that. And the other piece of it is, a lot of teams that I'm talking to are, are we ready for something like this? You're ready for something when you are a solopreneur, because
Yeah, I would say day 1, you're needing Asana ClickUp or Monday, and then you get to act as the project manager and try to build those repeatable systems. I think that's the key to all of this. We say repeatable systems, but one of the things that you really spearheaded with our last company was the automation piece. Between the projects that were going on, what needed to happen, you eliminated a lot of the busy work that also eliminated the need for detailed project managers in that kind of repeatable system that you developed. In our case, with this business, we still use a ton of automation, but it's to support the project manager, not
Mhm.
not to replace because of the like you said, because of the offering. So I think to kind of recap, like, do you need a project manager? I think the answer is always going to be maybe, and it depends. And it's going to depend on how repeatable is your system, how
Mhm.
scalable is your system, how custom are your offerings. If they're super custom, maybe it's nice to have that second level.
Mhm.
If it's not and it's super repeatable and you're selling social ads or, you know, i- video, if you're a video agency, like, and you have something that's very repeatable and you're not inventing custom solutions based on each client, then maybe you could do without.
Yeah, I think the other thing that people ask is, like, team size. Is my team big enough to need one of those? And it doesn't matter. You might have a 6-person team and you're doing a lot of client work, custom work. Well, I think then even a small team could possibly use one. And Micah, you know what I was thinking too about something, when we did not have a project manager and we had our managers managing things. One of the biggest pieces that we did is an emphasis on training.
Hmm.
They knew how to use Asana better than Asana themselves. And because if you don't have that, then you don't have consistency either. An account
Yes.
manager couldn't go to each department and know where to find stuff and know where to get the information they needed for their client. Because we were so consistent, it didn't matter if a manager was over our reputation department or our ads department, our systems and how we managed things were the same. Now, of course, the output and the work being done was different, but the way that we structured things was similar so that you could go through and see everything. And
Yeah. 100%. I mean, we talk about this a lot with clients, especially in some of our introductory calls and kind of discovery calls with clients. And it's all about, what kind of standardization do you or don't you have in place? What kind of training have you done for your team for using a tool like Asana or ClickUp or Monday? Those two things, standardize what you're doing, make sure everybody's speaking the same language in the platform, and then train your team on it.
Yeah, because let's just go down the road that you decide, okay, I hear what you're saying, Elaine and Micah, and I really think hiring a project manager is going to be best. All right, great. You made a decision, go for it. And then you hire this project manager, and every single person on your team uses the project management system different. That project manager is going to waste probably more than 50% of their time. And it's a nightmare.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, I've seen this firsthand across so many businesses. You talk to the project manager and you could just see it in their eyes, even on Zoom. They're looking at you with like puppy dog eyes, like, please help me figure this out, because they don't get to go on vacation without everything falling apart.
Hmm.
They don't get to take a break. They feel responsible for everything. They feel like it's their job. That's what they're hired for. They're overworked. And you're either going to have super high turnover with your project managers, or you're going to have a super stressed out project manager, which I can tell you for sure the rest of your team is not going to love that project manager if they're super stressed out.
Yeah. And what I see, and I mean, I just had a call with a client yesterday, brand new coming on board, and they were saying, you know what happens? The project manager can't get anybody else in the system. And so they have to go and Slack us. So everything's actually happening in Slack for project management. I mean, that happens almost all the time because nobody's consistently using it and going in there. That Slack is gonna be the easiest, or Teams, replace it with whatever chat you're using, WhatsApp
Yep.
even.
Yeah. So hopefully this was helpful in listening. And, just some key takeaways to think about is how repetitive or how scalable, how repeatable is your service offering or your products? How much standardization have you put into your, well, one, get a project management platform. Two, how standardized is it? So that would be the next thing to look at. Three, how effective is your training? And I don't, Elaine, feel free to correct me or piggyback on this, but when we were talking about training, it's not just you bring on a new employee and you put them through onboarding and you put them through 30 days of training, and suddenly they're this magical, project management wizard. This is ongoing training.
No, like, you feel like a psycho on it. Like, you feel like you're every week. I mean, this is what I implemented with my team, is what are your hacks and what did you learn new this week that and then teach us how. Because I don't have to be the one that knows how to do everything. I can let that go. I'd rather learn from somebody else than have to always be the one generating how to do things. And so it's constant. It could be on a weekly basis. Hey, this is how I learned how to do something, or Asana or ClickUp or Monday just came out with this new feature. This is how I'm using it. Because it's one thing to know of a feature, it's another to know how you're gonna use it. And so if somebody on your team has figured out how to use it, you wanna get all that information and then train the rest of your team on.
Absolutely.
Things are constantly
Absolutely.
changing. Nothing is staying the same.
Especially these days.
I mean, you
So,
can't, it's hard to keep up.
all right. So we've got get a project management platform, create standards, think of training as ongoing. I really like what you just added in there, Elaine, which is essentially a weekly retrospective. What's working? What's not working? What are the hacks? How would you improve this? Like, and then once you find things that are working, right, implement that across the team, across all the managers, across all the
Mhm.
project owners that are involved in the project management platform. Huge. There you
And
go.
yeah,
Like that's going to, whether you have a project manager or don't have a project manager, that's going to make a massive difference in your business.
yeah. And whenever a training comes out, every single person that it is associated with gets a task assigned with a due date. And that's how you make sure they get shit done.
Yeah, and there's your accountability.
Yes. And they also have to have some type of question or assessment to make sure they actually did it and just didn't check the box. So there's always a nugget or gem that they find in the training to make sure that everybody knows that they did it.
Absolutely.
All right. And if you aren't sure what project management system to use our selector tool. We'll link it in here, and that'll help get you on your feet on the right project management system for you. And join us next week where we talk about what a retrospective is.